Hey guys, just doing some more work on the Daihatsu Copen. We're going to be doing an oil change and oil filter change on this, which, because it's so tightly compact in there, is not the easiest things to do. The original Daihatsu oil filter is a slightly different size to like aftermarket oil filters that fit the Daihatsu, and that's where problems occur. If you don't have an original Daihatsu oil filter, you have to basically take the front bumper off, air filter, intercooler and one of the boost pipes to enable access to get the oil filter from the front. But if you have the Daihatsu filter, you can get it from underneath. I shall show you that. We'll have a look underneath and I'll show you the tightness and the location of it. Bear with me as we go for a little grovel underneath the car once again. So obviously, looking underneath the car, this is the front of the car, sump, exhaust, front cross member, and up here this is the front engine mount. And if we look, so if you can see it actually, even I can't see it, it's so bloody hidden up there. Right, hang on, can you see it? There. You can just about make out that it's got the Daihatsu logo on it. So this is a original Daihatsu oil filter that's on there, which means it can come out through this gap in this engine mount as long as you got the right tools. So that's what we're going to attempt to do. So bear with me and I'll just climb out from under here again. Okay, I managed to escape from underneath the car. This is the tool. These are quite common nowadays, and the idea is that it's just sort of a giant spanner that fits on the bottom of the oil filter and allows you to undo it. Now we're hoping that we can do that all through that little tiny gap. I also did some research and found that, like I say, a lot of people are having problems with aftermarket filters. You know, Wicks, Quinton Hazel, Blueprint, those other sort of makes. They're slightly different size. I think they're slightly taller and slightly wider, or one way around or the other, and they won't fit through that engine mount, so hence you have to take the whole car apart. This filter is Hearth and Bush, or Bus. Hearth and Bus. This is the box. Part numbers, and this filter, from what I have worked out, is identical in size, near as damn it, to the Daihatsu one. So you can buy these from any online shop, Autodoc, Car Parts Online, .co.uk, etc. Just make sure you get the Hearth and Bus one, and that should be the right size. And so there you go, the tool just goes on the filter like so. It takes a 3/8 socket. So we're going to attempt to take that filter out from underneath so we don't have to disassemble the entire front of the car. But first of all, we need to drain the old oil out, so I'll just get set up and get that done. Okay, before we drain the oil out, I just wanted to get all this out of the way. You can just lift this out, it's got a little clip there, and that allows access to the oil filler cap. But I find it's easier just to take the whole plastic thing off. And the reason for that is it makes filling up a lot easier, because it's quite recessed down there. And if you haven't got a funnel, or if you you know, don't want to faff around with a funnel. Then it's just easier to take that out of the way, and it allows you just to a little bit more room for the bottle when you're filling up, because it's literally, what was that, 10 seconds. So plus you can have a little look at everything and check things out. So to drain the oil, I've got the car jacked up. These have a very convenient hump on that front cross member that you can jack up on, and then we've got 2 axle stands on the back subframes, and they're nice and far back that they allow enough room for me to get this oil can under here to catch the old oil. Now I think this has got an aftermarket sump plug on. It's very similar to the one that I purchased. Oh, hang on. I purchased a new one which is like a generic aftermarket magnetic sump. It's always good to have one with a magnet because you can inspect it to see if there's any tiny little shards of metal, so it'll let you know if there's something seriously wrong with your engine, or you know, problems. And just make sure you get the right thread for the car, and I think this was M12 by 1.5 thread. I will check that up and put it on the bottom of the screen. These take a 12mm socket. You get it undone most of the way, so you can do it by hand. Not quite. And I just want to catch it and pull it out the way as quickly as possible. There we go. And that way you don't get oil all the way up your arm. And then we can get some tissue and inspect this and inspect that magnetic end and see what we've got, and we can be doing that while that's draining out. I think this is definitely due an oil change. That's not exactly clean. This has got 63,000 miles on the clock. I would like to think that it's had an oil change in that time. It probably has, but not recently, so it's certainly due one. And these are quite imperative that you do them at least every 3,000 miles, because the turbochargers are quite sensitive to oil issues. They've got quite a thin supply feed, which can be blocked up, you know. So doing regular oil changes just keeps everything happy. So right, we'll let that drain and we'll inspect this, and I'll bring you back. I'm just giving it a little clean up, and that's not too bad. There's more sludge that's on the end of that. I don't know if that's going to show up. There's a few very tiny bits, but it's mainly like a very fine sludge with the tiniest of metal in there, which it happens on all engines because just general wear. What you're looking for is any gigantic sort of large pieces. I say large pieces like, you know, a millimetre squared, but just a dusting is fine, so that's all good. That's pretty much drained out. So while that's just doing its final little thing, we're going to get the oil filter off. And again, this is going to be a nightmare to show you on camera, so I'll try the best I can. Let's see if I can get a bit of extra light up there. Okay, so I'm not sure how well you can see that, but I've managed to get the tool on the end of the oil filter. So we'll just get the socket on there now, the ratchet, sorry, and we'll undo that. I'll try and capture as much as I can on video, which you'll see. There we go. Ratchet is on, so now just a case of good, it moved. I just got to keep doing that until I can probably get my hand in there, hopefully, and do it by hand. So now that was a pig to do. Got the old filter off. Ended up getting my girlfriend to do it because her hand is smaller than mine and my hand wouldn't fit through the gap in the engine mount. So I got her to do it. You have to take the tool off before you can get the unscrew the filter. So you just put the tool on, use that just to undo the the main initial tightness of the filter. Then take your ratchet off, then take the tool off, which can be a sod because it can sort of want to bite onto the filter. Get the tool out through the gap in the engine mount, then put your hand in there, or your girlfriend's hand, and get her to unscrew the filter, and then you can pull the filter out through the gap. And there we go. And good news, the Hearth and Bush filter is identical in size. If anything, I'd say that top diameter is ever so slightly smaller, but everything else is perfect. So that's the filter to get, because you can't get Daihatsu filters in the UK anymore because there's no Daihatsu dealerships in the UK, so you have to get it from Japan. I think it's going to end up with shipping being like 30 odd quid, whereas this was, I don't know, 5-6 quid or something like that. So the only thing I do this with all cars now, is I've took the jack stands out and we're back on the jack, and we're just going to lower the car down just to get any remaining oil out. So let's lower it down and see if any residual oil comes out. Crush me oil can. No, I can't see much more coming out, so good. Right, we shall get the new oil bung oil nut in, drain plug, and get the new oil filter on. With the new filters, just pour a little bit of your new oil in the cap. And just, don't need a lot, just give it a very light smear around the rubber seal before you put it on. Try that again. There we go. You don't need to go crazy tightening them up because you'll strip the threads and cause all sorts of problems, because that's only aluminium and the sump is steel, so just nip it up. It's best just to wipe the dipstick down before you fill it up with oil. So we've got 2 dots, min and max. I can't remember what the capacity is. I did look it up, but I've since forgotten. So I think it's something like 3.5 litres. But we're gonna go with filling it up, you know, a couple of litres, check the dip. But I really should get a funnel because this is going to take a very steady hand. Only a tiny spillage. If you're doing this outside on a windy day, don't even bother. Definitely get a funnel, or do it inside like me. This is a 5W30 fully synthetic. Right, that's sat for a minute or two. Seems to be halfway between the two, but I never go by that straight away. I just always wipe it and dip it again. Yeah, we're about halfway, so I'll add a bit more. There we go. Perfect. So that's another job on the Copen done.